Okay, good morning once again to all of you, and let us continue with our question and answers of the chapter. Yesterday we had done up to the 11th question. Today we'll take the 12th question. What is the 12th question? Evaluate the various factors that led to the rapid growth in the economic development in China. Okay, that's the question. Your answer. Reforms were initiated in China in 1978. China did not have any compulsion to introduce reforms. First point, pre-reform period. Pre-reform period. Failures. These were all failures. Okay, put it in bracket, failures. First, A point. Under point 1, A point. There was slow pace of growth. There was slow pace of growth and lack of modernization. In the Chinese economy under the Maoist rule. Under the Maoist rule. The B point. It was felt that the Maoist vision of economic development, which was based on decentralization, self-sufficiency, and shunning of foreign technology, goods and capital had failed. C point. Despite extensive land reforms, the Great Leap Forward and other initiatives the per capita grain output in 1978 was the same as it was in the mid 1950s, as it was in the mid 1950s. This was point 1 with the 3 subheadings. Now, second point. Post-reform period. Post-reform period after 1978. This is success. Brackets you can write success. A point under this. In agriculture, by handing over plots of land to individuals for cultivation, it brought prosperity to a vast number of poor people. B. B point. It created conditions for the subsequent phenomenal growth in rural industries and built up a strong support base for more reforms. C. Point C. More reforms included the gradual liberalization of prices, comma, fiscal decentralization, fiscal decentralization, comma, increased autonomy for state-owned enterprises, comma, the introduction of a diversified banking system, comma, the development of stock markets, comma, the rapid growth of the non-state sector comma, and the opening to foreign trade and investment. D point. The restructuring of the economy and resulting efficiency gains have contributed to a more than tenfold increase in the GDP since 1978. Measured on a purchasing power parity, PARITY, based on a purchasing power parity, in brackets abbreviated PPP, purchasing power parity basis. China in 2005 stood as the second largest economy in the world after the US. E point, fifth E. China's economic growth as measured in terms of GDP on an average is 10.9% per year. In economic size, China is surpassed today only by the US, Japan, Germany, and France. F point F. If its present growth trend continues China is likely to be the world's largest economic power by any measure by the year 2025. The last point, G. China had success when it enforced one child norm in 1979. The low population growth of China can be attributed to this one factor. Thus, China's structural reforms introduced in 1978 in a phased manner offers various lessons from its success story. That is the answer to question number 12. We have to evaluate various factors which led to the rapid growth in the economic development in China. So there are these points. Now, the 13th question, you can write it in your book directly if they are one word answers. Group the following features pertaining to the economies of India, China, and Pakistan under their heads. So the one child norm, where was it followed? China. So write China. B. Low fertility rate, China. They just followed one child norm, China. High degree of urbanization. Where was this? Pakistan and China. Pakistan and China. B. Mixed economy, followed both by India and Pakistan. E. Very high fertility rate, Pakistan. F. Large population, Where is that? India and China. High density of population. High density of population, India. Age. Growth due to manufacturing sector, China. And the last, growth due to service sector, India. Okay. Next question. 14th. Give reasons for the slow growth and re-emergence of poverty in Pakistan. The answer: reforms were initiated in Pakistan in 1988. First point: pre-reforms and failure. Pre-reforms, bracket, failure. First point, that is A. The proportion of poor in 1960s was more than 40%. B. The economy started to stagnate suffering from the drop in remittances from the Middle East. C, point C. A growth rate of over 5% in the 1980s could not be sustained and the budget deficit increased steadily. D. At times, foreign exchange reserves were as low as 2 weeks of import, 2 weeks of imports. Second point now, post-reform period post-reform period after 1988. Failure, you can write in the brackets, failure is also. The reform process led to a worsening situation in all the economic indicators. Point A, the growth rate of GDP and its sectorial constituents have fallen in the 1990s. Point B, the proportion of poor declined to 25% in 1980s and started rising again in 1990s. The reasons for the slow down of growth and re-emergence of poverty in Pakistan, economy are the agricultural growth and food supply were not based on an institutionalized process of technical change, but on good harvest. And the fall in foreign exchange coming from remittances from Pakistani workers in the Middle East and the exports of highly volatile agricultural products. There was also growing dependence on the foreign loans on the one hand, and the difficulty in paying back the loans on the other. That's all. And that's all we have time for today. So we'll stop here and we'll meet again on Monday. Till then, all of you have a nice day and all of you will be safe.